Welcome to Moment for Thought. I am Aliyu Baba Barrow. If you could remember last week, we had a discussion on peace and security for development, economic development and people's development generally, the societal upbringing, so to speak, for future prosperity. And we're going to continue with that discussion. Last week, if you could remember again, we reached the zenith, so to speak, the peak of that discussion where we're going to start providing the panacea. And I still have those distinguished Nigerians in the studio to continue with that discussion. We thank His Excellency and the former IGP who have obliged again to come again. Thank you very much for coming, all of you.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Yes, the Executive Governor of Plateau State and Chairman Northern Governors Forum, Mr. Simon Bakwalalong, a politician par excellence and a lawyer by profession, and of course a man of the people. We talk about your connection with the traditional authority, and of course how you inject your own kind of Abuja declaration, the alternative dispute resolution of brought people together, like the UNDP, the bottom-top approach. You're welcome again on the program.
Thank you.
And the IGP, who has been with the people too, and a member of the National Institute and a commander of the Order of the Federal Republic. And you know you've been commanding well up to the time you were in active service, because they said they don't retire. The command structure, no, never. Will there be anything? He's always there, always accountable too.
Yes.
And now he's chairing the police,
The Board of Trustees.
the Board of Trustees, yes. Yeah, of the Police Trust Fund. Yeah, I know it's a trust fund that will enlarge perhaps the workings and the inputs of the Nigeria Police to the growth and development of this great country. You're welcome back on the program.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I think we stopped from where you stopped the discussion last week,
Yeah.
which I will, if the governor could remember, you talked about engagement of the youth
Yes,
in various sectors of the economy,
Yes.
farming, agriculture,
exactly.
fundamentally, which perhaps is one of the major stakeholdership, let me put it that way, of the current administration of Muhammadu Buhari, that is agricultural development. I remember in the late 60s and early 70s when we had started appreciating what was around us.
Exactly.
We had the Farm Institute and farm settlements.
Yes.
How do you, let's target agriculture first. Then we have a lot of issues, education and so many things. How do you see agriculture as really a platform, not only for development, for peace and security? They call it food security too.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Well, you have a lot in agriculture. You have a lot. I think, I remember saying that our forefathers had vision.
Yes.
And part of that vision, we grew up in secondary school then. You were coming back on holidays. Part of your vacation job was to take you to the farms. We enjoyed that very well in my local government, because we were very eager to go back home. And the very day you come back after 2 days, they'll pick you in a big vehicle, convey all of you to farms. Every day you were engaged. There were no opportunities for even, very little opportunity for sports, only on weekends. But you were engaged. You go to the farms and you saw the importance of the farm. Yes, we eat a lot from the farm. You have maize, you take maize, you eat granite, you take all of them. But you were very happy that all of you were gathered in an agric farm. In my village was surrounded by agricultural institutes. As up to today, agricultural training institutes. Many of my uncles, many of them had opportunity to work in those institutes, and through that pay some school fees for so many of the children. Now today, we neglected agriculture. I must say that oil, part of the problem we have is that we focus so much on oil, and we left agriculture. It is now we are trying to build agriculture, and we have a lot of challenges in building the agriculture. You see insecurity. That's why insecurity is coming up. Because many of our children, they don't even like agriculture. We have to start doing another orientation for children. You ask your child these days, you say, tell him what are you going to read. How many people want to read agriculture? I ask my children, why is it that all of you don't want to read agriculture? Anytime you graduate, you want to go to university, the first choice is technology. They say, we want to go and read information technology, not agriculture. It's difficult to even get students to even say they are going. I know, maybe in many of the agricultural faculties now, you have very few people offering to read agriculture. It means we're abandoning one of the key things that would have taken people off the street. In agriculture, we have different opportunities. Today, the president has introduced it. In so many of the states, that's what we're using to take many of our students off the street. We are using it because you need that also for food security. Don't produce the food. If you don't produce the food, where are you going to secure?
Yes,
the food is not there for you to talk about securing it. Now, what they have done, especially in youth engagement, youth empowerment, is to, like I said in my set, introduce this SME that they introduce. Many of it will focus on agriculture. I like Mr. President's passion about agriculture. If we had engaged and we followed him all in all our various states on agriculture, I think half of these problems would have been solved. Just imagine that you wake up, you graduate from university. You say you are looking for white-collar job. I say, which kind of white-collar job? If the farms are available,
yes,
we can create opportunity for you. We introduce ranching. People are running away from ranching. I say, what is modern technology to in animal husbandry? You are running away from it. You become billionaires. You have not seen people become billionaires as farmers. So these are some of these orientation that we have to bring up in our children. Otherwise, everything they are talking about, as we are doing, we must find also develop methods of engaging them. Agriculture can take half of the children, half of the population. Then the rest can go for white-collar jobs. The rest can go for white-collar jobs. So for me,
agriculture is green, but it's whiter.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, yes.
Even billionaires like Dangote, they are also in agriculture.
Large.
They are also in agriculture.
But the happy news is that some youth are now really going back.
Exactly.
And when they have, just as he said, he has thrown the challenge to the governors. You know, Mr. President, it cannot permeate everywhere.
Yeah.
Because the federal government, yes, it is the bigger head of the train, so to speak, but the governors. One vital issue you mentioned, infrastructure. Even in agriculture, there must be feeder routes.
Exactly.
Where the farmers will have access to market facilities and all these mechanization, electricity, and what have you. We're coming back to security. Just as we said, youth were so much engaged. They engage themselves some to criminal activities. You provide infrastructure. Take, for instance, people go to the railway lines and remove them. We have all these kind of things. How do we thoroughly check these kind of things so that if government provides, instead of enhancing and really supporting government's development processes, we continue to draw the nation back, not just the government, but the nation back? How do you deal with this kind of situation?
I think with regards to perhaps protective motives already in existence, we now come back to the issue of mitigating factors. We established the police, to mitigate the problems of insecurity and to make also security effective so that we can have socio-economic and political development. Unfortunately, until recently, the issue of the budget of the police has never been taken seriously. This is why we now have the Nigeria Police Trust Fund with the sole objective of improving the budget of the Nigeria Police, be it with regards to effective training, be it with regards to the purchase of modern equipment in policing, or even this, welfare development of the personnel of the Nigeria police. Now, another problem that the police, if it remains the leading, internal security agency, which is what exists in other parts of the world,
Yes.
and we see that they don't neglect their police anyway. The next most important thing is to make sure that there is enough manpower with the police. Unfortunately, if you look until recently, the police for decades was denied even the opportunity of recruiting personnel. But in this government, the police have been given, the approval to recruit 10,000 policemen every year. That has been going on. Don't mind not too long, we had disruption due to the problem between the leadership of the police and the Police Service Commission. Thank God, some of us retired Inspectors General of Police intervened, and as the process of the commencement of the recruitment was to start, this IGP was the, I can remember, the police secretary at that time.
Yes.
So he was part of, the company of the retired IGPs in ensuring that peace was achieved with regards to that problem.
So there was a very great tutelage. So
Exactly. So he has already begun, implementing the outcome of those efforts.
Beautiful.
Another important thing is to make sure that other security agencies who have responsibilities with regards to, policy or protecting the community, protecting of lives and property so that the economy can thrive, so that even our political development can advance, they also require that support.
Yes.
But apart from that support, they also need to come together, collaborate, so that they can achieve the common goal. Yes. But a situation where intelligence is not shared, or every agency wants to supersede the other, clash of interest, duplication of efforts, these are, some of the problems that need to be arrested so that we have the desired protection of life and property.
Property, yes. Well, this is very, very important. Well, when you talk about policing the country or the issue of maintenance of security, lives and property, I continue to say that you belong to the traditional authorities too. For far too long, people have been saying that the traditional authority, the communities, have been relegated in the background. How do we inject that communal values so that, as we said from the beginning, when I went to IGP on this issue, to nip certain things in the bud. In the past, anybody who comes into a new community, everybody knows about that, and immediately the police will know through the traditional institutions. How do we bring that back into the system today so that we have real good community policing?
Thank you very much. And just like the IGP mentioned, sometimes what we have in the country is abdication of responsibilities. We know that even from creation, even from now first up to this republic, the institution that started with responsibility of internal security was the police. So when you got to a time where you are even denying them recruitment, at a point now we're beginning to get mixed up, the army taking the role of the police. Right. And then there is no recruitment in the police. And now we get to a point where we're saying we want to withdraw the army to bring back the police. And then we're starting again recruitment. to train police, it means there's a problem. There was a problem. I pray that we will not have this problem. Once we start recruitment of the police, let us continue with recruitment of the police and train the police. And then identify the role of the army in the barracks. Give them their own role, and then we know that who is responsible for internal security of the nation. Secondly, the role of traditional rulers was also taken away from them. You know that traditional rulers mostly were working with police. They were not working with the army. They were working with the police. They were working with the police. And so at a point, we were no longer concentrating on the traditional institutions, because in some cases, I think it was introduced that they give them 5%. Even in my state, I've realized that this 5% is nothing to go home about. It's not true for a traditional ruler. Now, if you want them to play a role, you must give them responsibility. And the only thing that we can do is to find them also included in the Constitution. That's what we have done in the at the Northern Governors Forum. When we realized with the NSAS, that was an outcome of the NSAS resolution, we set up several committees. And one of the committees, very important, was the role of traditional institutions. Because if the traditional institutions were very active, some of these restive youths would not have gone the way they are. Because we know that first discipline is usually in your house.
Yes.
Second one is within your surrounding. And when you have a surrounding and have good leadership with respect, many of them. I used to know in my village, if you are a thief, they know you are a notorious thief. If there is any evidence of any stealing anywhere, what they do is that they say, that man, the first thing they will go is to your that house, even if he's not the one. They will say he's the one. They will start suspecting you. And traditional ruler will call you. I hope you are not the one who went and stole somebody's this thing. With that kind of bad name, you will not want to continue that way. And most of these disputes were settled at the traditional institute, within the traditional institution. The chief will call everybody and everybody will submit to him. So it is when there are, when issues go beyond that, they invite the police. And then that time the Yandoka and everything, the police will come.
The native authority police.
The native authority. So we must go back to giving the traditional institutions some rules. We've done that already at the Northern Governors Forum.
Yes.
We have done it. We've fashioned out a provision for constitutional amendment, which we have submitted to the National Assembly for the role of traditional institutions. Even if it's not going to work in the whole of the country, we are saying that let them cap that one for Northern Nigeria. Yes. Let's find that role and give them responsibility. Council of Chiefs, like what you have in the Houses of Assembly. When you give them that role, then they send back in terms of community policing, because the federal government is introducing emphasis on community policing. You can't do community policing without the traditional institutions.
Yes.
They are the ones that will identify people. They are the ones that will do the internal monitoring and then link up with the police. So we must do that. And in doing that, let's give them a role. So we're praying, because we've mobilized our committee under Northern Governors Forum, was chaired by the Emir of Zozo. They've all gathered themselves and they brought out, under the Emir of Lafia, who is also a retired jurist of the Supreme Court. So they did very well, but presented a very, very comprehensive proposal, which we all sent, is now before the constitutional amendment. So we're waiting for them to start. Then we're also going to send a very powerful delegation on the day of presentation to the National Assembly to ensure that you provide a role for traditional institutions if you want to help in curbing insecurity in this country.
I think that's a very good start. I remember even when the British came in, they borrowed a leaf from the indirect route system from what was happening in the northern part of the country. And it was adopted even in India. And again, you could see the result of these vital things that happens from the value system. When we had problems in the southern part, of no response here, ever. And we must congratulate the governors, the traditional authorities, and they are perhaps the minutest unit of the society, the parents of the family, for that. Peace and security for development. How do we go forward?
Well, I think it's like asking me to cap up what we've discussed so far. Peace is the panacea for development. Without peace, you can't get to anywhere. If there's anything perhaps the countries in the advanced world are taking advantage of, is the fact that there's peace. Because there's no place better than home. Unfortunately, it is that search for peaceful atmosphere that makes such movements. It is also the peaceful atmosphere that makes investors, to come in here and invest. And unfortunately, in our own case, we've, for a long time, been able to manage our security situation. And I want to say that the discussion on what happened perhaps even during the colonial period when the indirect rule and so on was used, it is a clear indication of harnessing the importance of intelligence. Intelligence, if I would say, the traditional rulers used to be the main custodians of intelligence. If, like His Excellency said, a theft is committed, there's a person to point at as the likely thief. But the beauty of it is that because he knows that people know him to be a thief, even if he didn't steal that particular one, he will mention the person who did it.
Yes, okay.
So it's clear indication that intelligence is perhaps
It's grassroots.
the number one thing we require in modern day management of insecurity.
Yes.
And if we have it, we'll get there.
Good. We've spoken about the symbiotic relationship between the government and the governed. When you talk about fundamental objectives and directive principle of state policy, you're talking about the principle of social contract. We've done with that.
Yes.
Now, the relationship among the three basic institutions of democracy, executive, legislature, and the judiciary where you belong.
Yes.
And of course, Nigeria operates a federal structure.
Yes.
Just as he said, he challenged the governors.
Yes.
We have the federal, the executive, the federal government, the state, and the local government. How do we put this together in order to work as a team, to bring that factors of mitigation together, so to speak?
Yeah, because the three institutions were created.
Let me warn you, you have only 1 minute. sir.
Oh, in 1 minute.
Yes.
Okay, we've just done that, and in order to, as you do that, if you have to bring up those relationships, you also have to build up those institutions. Recently, we just finished the financial autonomy for the legislature and the judiciary. It is in compliance with what we're saying. We need each other, and as we do that, we must build all other institutions, the institutions. I've mentioned the issue of traditional rulers. So we must also build the legislature and then also enhance the capacity of the judiciary. Because you need that the relationship is there. Because if you are talking sometimes some of these issues about crisis, it's injustice. Where do you redress injustice without a good judiciary? You must give them opportunity to do that. And you can't do that when there are no regulations, and the only people that are saddled with responsibility of doing regulations are also the legislature, and then the executive will be there to implement. So they must have a very, very cordial relationship.
And adjudication by the judiciary.
Exactly.
Yes, and federal, states, and local governments.
Yes.
Especially you as a governor, you are at the center.
Yes.
Yes, you relate with the state government and with the local governments and the federal government.
Very well.
So how do you harmonize them?
Well, for me, even in my state, I've also given autonomy to local governments. Local governments are 4 months with their autonomy now. When people are talking about autonomy here and there, I've given to the rest. So I've also given to the...
You are not afraid of that autonomy?
No. There's nothing to be afraid.
Thank you.
Yes.
But let us also appreciate the fact that the legislature and the executive recently came, to an understanding. Just last week or this week, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, led a research, a convention where recommendations, 19 points were raised for the executive to execute so that we have better security situation. And then the legislature will have about 7 areas also to, implement so that our security situation will improve.
Thank you very much, former Inspector General of Police, IGP Suleiman Abba, for honoring our invitation. This is the second week you're coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the Excellency Governor Simon Bakolala, thank you very much for coming.
I'm honored.
Thank you for watching. I am Maliyu Baba Barrow. Goodbye. Thank you.